I want to introduce someone that we all know and love and appreciate, and is our Attorney General. And I'll just say a little bit about her. Pam was formerly the Assistant State Attorney for the 13th Judicial Court Circuit before her election in 2010. Let me just say something about her election. We had, if anybody was there, at Westport High School, the Republicans had a candidate for him, and she was the only Attorney General candidate that was there. She drove all the way from the other side of the state to be with us that day. That's when I first met her. We were very impressed by that, so we appreciate her. But while she was serving in the State Attorney's Office, she served as the Felony Bureau Chief and a key member of Internal Homicide and DUI Manslaughter Committees. She was also a member of the Executive Committee, and Pam's investigative experience and courtroom experience came into play with first-degree murder cases of national interest, which she successfully prosecuted. And as Florida's 37th Attorney General, Pam successfully championed a landmark law to halt the spiraling problem of pill mills, which we all appreciate her efforts in that, as we know we have a lot of those problems here in Ocala. Beyond serving as a member of the state cabinet, Pam's been honored by being selected as the vice chair of the National Association of Attorney Generals. Pam received her bachelor's degree in criminal justice at the University of Florida and her law degree from Stetson Law School. And she's a native of Tampa, and Pam's a fourth-generation Floridian and hails from a family dedicated to service, including 3 generations of educators. She's the first woman in state history to serve as Florida's Chief Legal Officer. And with that, I would like to bring to the podium Attorney General Pam Bondi.
And just so you all know, nothing changes. I'm still driving all over the state, but for much better causes. And then that's to promote anti-drug efforts that you're all making. And also Bill Gladson is here, and thank you so much, you and your state attorney, who's just, you've done wonders in the fight against drugs, and thank you for continuing to do that with Brad King. Thank you. And thanks to all of my friends, all of our great elected officials who are here, from mayors to state reps, and that's why this is so important. And when we started this effort, I had been in office a month and got a letter actually from Sheriff McKeithen in the Panhandle saying, we have a problem. I had never heard of synthetics, and I prosecuted almost 20 years. And that was about 2 years ago. So that's how quickly this junk has spread throughout our state. So at that time, I have some people call it power, I call it responsibility, tremendous responsibility. And I can sign an emergency order, and I can make something with the stroke of a pen illegal until it goes through the following session. And so after I met with Sheriff McKeithen, I learned that these synthetics, and our thought is because they were first outlawed by Bobby Jindal, that probably because of Bourbon Street in Louisiana and New Orleans, that then they came down to Florida, and they hit our Panhandle first. And so at that time, I signed an emergency order after FDLE carefully analyzed the drugs, and FDLE has been amazing in this effort as well. And they analyzed the drugs, and we found that, and I really don't like it when you call it synthetic marijuana, because marijuana's here, this stuff is here. I mean, this is like synthetic acid, LSD, it's a hallucinogenic. And the fear in the Panhandle was that spring break was coming up the next month before I could get to session. And kids, where did they stay? High rises. And they could jump off buildings. And I've already heard stories from police chief this morning about a young person who tried to jump in front of a four-wheeler. I mean, this stuff is so deadly, it's so lethal, and we could sit here and tell you stories all day long, but many of you are here because you already understand that. And this is about bringing awareness to it. So we went through the first session, and we outlawed those compounds. Then the second session, we outlawed, I think, over 90 more. And now I just signed another emergency order outlawing 22, because what you've got these creative chemists in Asia, and they're making this junk and they're importing it to our country because it's big business. And they could care less what it's doing to our kids. And so they think they're ahead of us. They're not. I'll sign an emergency order every day if I have to. And now we have a bill going through session this upcoming term that will permanently ban these additional compounds. So what parents need to know is this stuff is so deadly. And just to give you some statistics, according to the Drug Abuse Warning Network report, more than 11,000 ER visits nationwide, and this was back in 2010, involved a synthetic. So 75% of the visits were from young people from the ages of 12 to 29, but the majority of those were 12 to 17. And once we started outlawing these compounds, calls to poison control really went down. And that was obviously before they were illegal, but now they're illegal. So now we're learning from law enforcement as well. We've also been working with the good convenience store owners to get this stuff off the shelves. And that's why parents have to be vigilant. You know, some people are still selling it. I happened to be in I won't say which county, another county recently, and a store owner told me next door they were selling this junk. I walked in and started taking pictures of it on my camera phone and started an investigation. So you have to be vigilant. Your kids, a 14-year-old girl, walked into a convenience store when her mom had stopped on the way to school, a straight-A student. She bought this stuff. She didn't know it was illegal because she bought it from a store. And sprinkled it on her potato chips at lunch because she was told it would help her concentrate, and had a seizure right on the lunchroom floor. So we all know how deadly this is. We have to continue our fights. What really infuriated me with the last emergency order that I signed was this stuff. It's called, I wish we had packets to show you here today, but it's called Vanilla Sky, Spice, Purple Flake, G13, any name you can imagine. It's in tiny little packets, not much bigger than a sugar packet, usually tin foil. Some of it's in little plastic round containers. They say it's not marketed for human consumption. Of course it is. Now they've even started stamping on the back of some of it, this is not illegal, which is a joke. So that's why this is so important, and parents need to understand. But really what infuriated me was, the marketing to me was more towards teenagers with, you know, women on the front of the pictures and different visuals. But now, the latest round I saw, Scooby-Doo was on the front. Okay, the one that really made me mad was called Cotton Candy, and if you touched the package, it felt like cotton candy. And this is an illegal synthetic drug. So that's why it's taking all of your efforts, and I'm so impressed that all of our state, local, county officials are all here, and all of our great law enforcement officers, and our mayor, our sheriff, our chief, and our great prosecutors who have come together to combat this, because this is, you know, it's the newest wave of drugs, and we've got to stay one step ahead of these drug dealers, and we're going to do everything in our power to do that. But parents, please talk to your kids about this. Please check their backpacks, because we're dedicated to stopping these drug dealers in our state. And I love Georgia, but I've called my friend who's the Attorney General there, and I said, get ready, because we're running them out of Florida. So do everything in your power, please, to educate your kids. And thank you all for your efforts.